Welcome to the Leading Owls podcast, brought to you by Rice University's Door Institute for New Leaders. Each week, we bring you inspiring stories and practical tips from successful student leaders, faculty, and staff, along with leadership experts and coaches that will help guide you in your own leadership journey.
In this episode of the Leading Owls podcast, our special guest for today is Neya Gupta, a freshman from Brown College studying political science. She represents Brown College as a new student representative and intern under the Student Association internal vice president. She also wanted to help out for Brown in terms of planning for events and also making sure that Brown's voice gets heard around campus. We hope you like this episode.
Hello and welcome to the Leading Owls podcast. I'm your host, Hong Lin Sai, and I'm here with our lovely guest, Neya Gupta. Would you like to say hi to the listeners here?
Hi, it's nice to meet you guys. My name is Neya.
And we got our co-host, Bernie, here. You want to say hi, Bernie?
Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here. It's going to be a great podcast.
Thank you. So first of all, kind of a background of yourself. Can you introduce who you are, Neya?
Yes, I'm a freshman at Brown and I'm studying political science with a minor in politics, law, and social thought. Here at Rice, I've been involved with student government. I'm freshman rep for Brown College, and then I'm also a student association new student rep for Brown. Other than that, I'm a part of the Model UN travel team here at Rice, and then I'm also a part of the Rice Justice Project. In my free time, I like to do beaded embroidery and also watch movies with my friends.
Perfect. Nice. So we're just going to jump straight into our very first question. So you did say that you're really involved into Brown since kind of day one, being running for freshman class rep and also being part of the SANSR. What kind of drew you into leadership so early on?
I think that for me, I've always kind of been drawn towards leadership. In high school, I was president of the Spanish National Honor Society that we had on campus. And then I also founded different clubs and organizations. So I think I've always just been interested in leadership and advocating for issues that I've seen across both like my high school campus and then also just in general. But I think that here at Rice specifically, what drew me to wanting to be a part of student government was just the ability to make change and how easy it was to get involved. I knew from the beginning when I heard about it, my OWEEK dad actually was also a part of student government here at Brown and at Rice. So I kind of leaned on him a lot and asked him a bunch of different questions about it. And I found that it was really interesting how they have these different programs where students, especially freshmen who are like just starting off, are able to get so involved and create change in ways that like you wouldn't normally be able to do, since a lot of times in high school, there's limits about like the budget and different things that students themselves aren't able to really advocate for. But here at Rice, what I really like is how willing and open admin are, and just in general, how willing it is to make things that students want to happen able to happen.
So out of all of this experience, was there kind of a specific moment when you kind of realized you wanted to really commit to making change at Brown or across campus?
So I think that I really liked the idea of the FITQs and the events that we have across, like, you know, specifically at Brown. I know they have them at all the other colleges as well, but I think that those events, they were kind of a fun way to get to meet new people and be involved with Brown, especially with people that you might not usually normally see on a daily basis. So I think that seeing those events, I kind of wanted to be a freshman rep so that I could help plan events like that would bring people together and make like a fun experience for everyone. But then also be able to enact real change with like being a new student rep and then also a freshman rep who specifically at Brown, we're trying to do Brown to the future. And so those types of events, or I guess like those types of plans, are really important and will help create some real change over at Brown and in Rice in general.
Nice. So what's a story or a moment for you kind of really captures the personality of Brown?
So one thing that I really loved about Brown when I first came here was move-in day. I was really nervous. I remember I like showed up and I was like one of the first people in line, and we were just driving in and everyone was just like shouting, cheering, and it just was a great experience. And then also to see when I walked out and I was like kind of moving everything onto the trolleys to take up to my room, my OWEEK parents and just in general, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, Neya, how are you? How are you feeling?" Like, the fact that they all like took the time and effort to remember our names and make sure that they were pronouncing them correctly and just like work to make us freshmen like feel really welcome and included, just really emphasize the culture of care I think that we have at Brown and just like in Rice in general. because of how big of an effort they make. Because a lot of other colleges I know, like, you have to introduce yourselves to them. They don't really know who you are prior to coming to the university. So I really like that. And I feel like it really shows the culture that we have at Brown and how focused it is on community and collaboration and just being welcoming to others.
Oh, that's really sweet. So how has that kind of culture at Brown influenced the kind of leader that you want to be?
So I think that it's really emphasized that I want to be the type of leader that listens to other people, kind of connects and collaborates with them, because seeing how welcoming the environment was at Brown initially, it made me realize that I want to also carry that on to future freshmen, to future students here at Brown as well, and just be someone that they can talk to and that will advocate for them and listen to them, regardless of my own personal beliefs. I want to be someone that is taking an unbiased look into a lot of different implementations and different ideas and just listen to them, get their feedback, get the student feedback, see how I can work with administration, like for Brown specifically, like our B team, and see if that's able to be possible, and just advocate and be as welcoming to new ideas as possible is something that I really want to become as a leader.
Oh, that's so nice. So I'm going to pass on to the next few questions to Bernie here.
Great stuff so far, Neya. So you've mentioned wanting to plan events like Halloween and Valentine in previous conversations to strengthen community. What's been your favorite part about bringing those ideas to life?
We were able to do Halloween for Halloween. It's like kind of a spin on how a lot of things at Brown are like, B and then something like that. Like we had the BIM and the bitchin and all of those different ideas. So I wanted to bring like a Halloween. And so I think that what was really fun about it was just to see like the fun and excitement people were having, because they were able to be with their friends, express themselves, have their Halloween costumes, and just have like a fun time. I think that that's something as a freshman rep I really wanted to make sure people had, because I know that a lot of events can seem you have to have your friends there in order to have fun. But what's something that I'm really glad that and proud that we were able to do was at Halloween, you didn't really have to know anyone. You were just able to go and have fun and meet new people. And so I think that for that event specifically, it was fun to see everyone dressed up. We did like a costume contest and had judges. And I think it was really nice. I think we were able to get a lot of good involvement from people that we normally were not able to see at different fit cues and different events because they might be off campus or upperclassmen or anything like that. Seeing them there and having them participate in it just really made it a great experience. And so I definitely want to try and continue that for Valentine's, which would be like Valentine's for Brown. I think that that's been a really great part of it.
Absolutely. Great job. I've heard of the event so far, and yeah, great success. Wonderful. Now I have a follow-up. Have you learned anything surprising about what makes an event actually work or Brownies?
So something that I think that has been kind of surprising to learn about for Brownies specifically is this is not really surprising, but food draws everyone in. I think that, having food there at the events and having good food makes everyone like want to come. But I also think it's the culture that you create for people at the events. Usually people will just talk amongst themselves and kind of like have their groups. But I've noticed that with Brownies, they're a lot more willing and open to talk to new people and meet new people. You just have to kind of facilitate that environment. So I think when we had that costume contest, just kind of having everyone intermingle and kind of wait and also just like ask and start conversations. Like, I was there because I know a lot of different people that were at the event. And so just kind of talking to them and then introducing them to other people. I think that that was just a really great experience because I was really surprised that they were so willing to make new friends and meet new people. And I think that that's something that speaks to the culture of community and culture of care that we have at Brown.
Absolutely. So next question. Through your roles as both Brown freshman class rep and SA NSR, you've had to represent both your college and the wider Rice. How do you balance those perspectives?
So I feel like they kind of go hand in hand in some aspects. I know that for being a freshman rep, our main responsibilities are to plan events for the freshmen and just like the Brown population in general. And then also take in any concerns that freshmen might have and bring them up to B team, to our exec team, and then also just make sure that they're being heard. And so I feel like that kind of does go hand in hand with being a student association like NSR, because we're able to take the concerns that a lot of people just in general at Brown have and see if there's a way that we can implement it in the student association. So I think that being able to hear people's opinions and listen to their ideas is something that's very important and something that is applicable to both being a freshman rep and an NSR in the student association.
Good answer. Absolutely. You're also interning with the SA's IVP. What has that experience taught you about how student government really works behind the scenes?
So just for like a bit of background information, the Student Association IVP is supposed to kind of collaborate with all of the different commissions that are under the Student Association and work with them. And then also just make sure that they're aware of like the different NSR projects and kind of collaborate, just like kind of know the inner workings of what's happening in the Student Association. So it is a lot of work that Sohani has to do. And I think that she's been really helpful in explaining different things to me. And it's been nice to sit in on the exec meetings and kind of hear the executive team's opinions on different things that are happening in Senate and also how they're working with both admin and representatives from each of the colleges, both the president and the senator, and then also the NSRs to find like a good middle ground because, you know, each team kind of wants something different. And so I think that the exec team really serves as a connection between them that's able to find a good middle ground for them. So I think it's been really important and also it's been really helpful to see that side of it because I've seen the NSR side of it. I haven't seen the admin side of it because, you know, I'm not admin, but I think that seeing the middle ground has been really helpful in understanding that while there are a lot of things that we want to implement and change at Rice, there are some that are kind of beyond our control and some things that we might not be able to do at least within like 1 year.
Yes, but we can always try, right?
Well, yes, of course.
We're having a lot of good progress this year in my eyes. So, Neya, just curious, has anything about the process that you've been learning so far surprised or challenged your expectations?
Specifically with the institutional neutrality argument that we've had in the Student Association specifically, I think seeing the work that they've done and trying to amend it and just work on it for the past, like, I think it was around 4 or 5 weeks. I think that that's been pretty surprising because I am not used to having such, like, I guess, heavy topics discussed and actually trying to work to create a solution for that and try and see if there's a resolution that we can come to. And so even though the bills did not pass or the resolutions didn't pass, I think that it was really important to see that, you know, work doesn't always have to be successful, that, you know, the fact that we were able to come to some discussions on it and talk about it and try and see if there was a middle ground. I think that that was really important to see in the Student Association, to know that, you know, even if you don't create change, you were still able to learn something valuable and come back, you know, stronger with a possible like new discussion into institutional neutrality. But that was just one example.
Wow. Great answer. You're so well spoken.
Thank you.
Of course. I'll now pass it back to Hong Lin for some more questions about growth of leadership.
Thank you, Bernie. So more into how your kind of leadership style kind of works here. So you did say that your greatest leadership lesson you've learned is to listen more than you talk. So can you share a time when listening changed how you kind of approach a problem or a project?
So I used to work at a theater in high school, and it was kind of a high stress environment, especially during times where there were a lot of new movies showing and all of these different things. And so I worked in I was kind of like almost a shift lead, if that makes sense. I was kind of managing other people and where they were taking food and drinks and all of that stuff. And so kind of in that environment, I was very new to it, and I wasn't really sure, you know, what's the best way to direct people. And I didn't want to be someone that was the person that was just talking to the people instead of actually listening to their feedback and listening to what they thought was the best way to handle it, especially people that have had more experience working in these high stress times than I had. So I definitely, in the first month or so that I was working there, I worked to listen to a lot of the feedback that the runners had and that other people had when I was acting as shift lead. And I was able to really learn from that and learn the best way to organize myself and to organize all the stuff that we were setting out so that everything would go smoothly to provide our guests with the best customer service possible.
So how do you manage or like balance listening with like making confident decisions?
So I think that it's always important to have my own opinion on something because I don't want to just be swayed by everyone else's opinions on what is going on. But I think that I should always have a stance and then listen to the feedback and opinions of other people and take that into account on what I was trying to make a decision on. Because I think that it is important to understand that acting as in a leadership position, you do also want to have an opinion that is going to be something that you stand behind. So I don't think that it's something where you should just be listening to everyone else and then just kind of formulating it, even if it might not be the best solution. I think it's always important to take into account what everyone is saying and then come up with a solution that one takes into account what other people are talking about, my own personal opinion, and then also what would be best applicable for that situation specifically.
Right, of course. So kind of going on like the opposite end of the spectrum here. So can you tell me like a time something that didn't go as planned, maybe with like an event or initiative? So how did you handle that and what you learned?
Specifically with Halloween, actually, while it ended up being a huge success, at the beginning of the event, we were kind of worried because it was our first event that the freshman reps were planning, and we didn't really have much experience or time to try and come up with something very cohesive, if that makes sense. So we kind of knew at the beginning we were worried about a little bit of how much we were able to publicize the event, how much, whether people were going to show up. Additionally, with it being on Halloween night, we were kind of worried about people having other plans and not really showing up. So at the beginning of the event, we felt like, oh, there weren't really very many people there. They weren't really engaging. So we were a bit worried about it, but something that I tried to do and something that I try to do all the time is engage with people and talk to people that I don't know, and also just try and like get them hype about in the event, if that makes sense. So whenever I saw people kind of just talking amongst themselves, I would just kind of go like, hey guys, you should really like come over here. I think this would be a really fun thing for you to listen to, fun thing for you to participate in. I think it kind of made people more comfortable to be there because I think that a lot of times people will kind of follow where the crowd is going or follow where other people are going towards. So I think that being able to be that person that was directing them towards, like, oh, let's come over here. Let's enjoy this thing. Let's enjoy watching this movie and participating. I think that it really made people more comfortable. And I think that it made it definitely more successful, because when we got into the costume contest, everyone was starting to line up and you would see people walking into Vader, which is like the first floor of Brown Tower. And so whenever I would see them, I'd be like, hi, I think you should really join our costume contest. I'd see them wearing their costumes and everything. And I kind of like showed them what we were doing, expressed my enthusiasm, and talked about how I think that they should join it as well. And a lot of them ended up actually joining in, just like even walking into Vader, they just joined in and started participating in the costume contest. And so I think that we were really able to turn it from an event that might not have been as successful to something that really took into account people's comfortability levels, and then also just like recognizing that a lot of people did not hear about it. And so by just kind of in person publicizing the event and like kind of leading people towards participating in the costume contest that we were doing, ended up making it a really big success. So I think that that was a really important lesson to learn, and just learning the importance of like putting myself out there and just kind of just putting myself out there, listening to them, trying to guide them towards a fun event, and just making it known what we were doing, which I think really helped with the success of the event overall.
Yeah. Do you see yourself playing it again, maybe next year for that?
I definitely think so. I think next year we will have more time to plan the event, since we kind of came in, I believe it was like a month before. So I think if we are able to plan the event more in advance and try and make it more of an elaborate event, I think that that's something I definitely want to do. But in the event that we're not able to have enough time to prep it, I think that something like what we had was a really great event. And I think it was something that was not done in previous years. And I think it really helped make people feel engaged and part of the Brown community, and just like overall have a good time before they continued their Halloween plans throughout the night.
Yeah, of course. So kind of going back to kind of like the bigger picture as a whole. So you took on a lot of roles early on. So how do you decide what's worth to say yes to?
So I think that I would likely like to say yes to a lot of different things, just because I do love to be involved. But I also recognize that there are constraints with what I can do, and also the bandwidth that I already have. So I think that whenever I've seen different roles and stuff that I've been asked to participate in, I think I look at one about the amount of change that I can bring in that environment, because while I do always love to learn about new things, I want to also be realistic with myself and say, oh, well, I might not really be able to create that big of a change here. I think that might be better suited for someone else who could create more change and actually do stuff within that group. So I think that just recognizing my own limits is something that's really important. And then just also in general, understanding what capacity I have and just like overall, like what I'm able to do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for answering kind of like how you take on the approach of leadership. So I'm going to pass along the next section to Bernie.
This next section is on collaboration and impact. Across your team, so at Brown and the SA and through your IVP internship with Sohani, what have you learned about building trust among people with different perspectives?
It's really important, one, to build that trust with different people, because if you don't, you're not able to hear diverse perspectives. There's always going to be people that are unhappy, but I think that it's really important to hear other people's opinions and collaborate with them. So something that I've tried to implement, something that I want to continue implementing in myself is communication. I feel like communication is a really important part of being in a leadership role, because it's important to communicate and listen to other people, and then also just recognize that there are other perspectives that might be different than yours, but that doesn't mean that those perspectives are wrong or that they are something that you shouldn't be listening to. I think it's always really important to hear where someone else is coming from, hear their ideas and their opinions, and then try and see the best way to implement that into what you've already come up with, in order to make the solution that you come up with and the idea that you implement just a lot more cohesive and representative of all the different people that are working on it.
Nice. Very good. Well, follow up. Can you think of a moment when you saw a group truly come together in an unexpected way?
I think I would probably say something along the lines of that institutional neutrality resolution as well. I think that there was a lot of discourse between the senators and presidents and then the executive council about how it should be approached and what we should work on and what we should be targeting. But I think that in the end, when we added the amendments to the current resolution that was being voted on, I think that was a real show of compromising and communicating with all of the other groups to know that, each of us aren't going to be able to get our own way, and that we want to find a way to include both sides to make it as middle ground as possible. I think that the work that they did on the institutional neutrality resolution was really important. And I think it really showed that collaboration is possible even amongst people that have differing perspectives on an issue.
Very true. I agree. I was there. For our next question, Neya, we're very happy to see how you do have a lot of history with leadership. You founded Unbound Angels to support children in India. What inspired that project, and what did it teach you about leadership and service?
Yeah, so I started Unbound Angels in my sophomore year of high school. And I started it because when I was a kid and I went to India, I got appendicitis there and I went to the hospital and I was there for a couple of days. And when I left, I just remember leaving and seeing a bunch of kids on the side that weren't able to afford medical care and they weren't able to get the help that they needed. And so I think that that's always been something that has stayed with me. And I've always wondered why weren't they able to get it? What is different about me and them? Why was I able to get medical care and they weren't? And I felt that it was always really unfair and something that I wanted to try and make my impact on and see if there was something I could do about it. So that's when I started Unbound Angels, and I started it just as an organization where we would raise money to help kids in those similar situations. And I think that we were able to morph it into a really great organization where we donated to Grace Care Homes, which is an orphanage in India. And we were able to help kids that were in that orphanage with providing all of them food. It was around 150 kids, I believe. We were able to help provide them food for a month with the money that we raised, and then also sponsor 5 kids, both through Grace Care Homes, the orphanage, and then also a nonprofit organization called Action Aid. And so I think that really taught me about leadership and service just in general, that a leader really is built by the people that they're able to help. I think that my work and being able to hear the experiences of those children and then also speaking with the orphanage owner, I think that it really showed me the impact that I was able to make in that way. And then also, I think that I was able to further show my dedication and further be involved and make a change in their lives because of the stories that I heard and because of them sharing their experiences with me. And so I think it was really important to, as a leader, understanding and hearing their perspectives and what they were talking about and hear their stories, listen to them, sympathize, understand, and further push my emotions in that situation and push it back into the work that I was doing.
Wow, that's beautiful, Neya. You're a hero, the heart of gold. Thank you for sharing. I have a follow-up. How has that global experience shaped the kind of impact you hope to make at Rice?
So I think it's really helped me to understand that having that experience working with underprivileged kids in India, I think that it's also made me want to come here and do similar work, specifically with the Houston and trying to help underprivileged kids across the Houston area. But I also think that at Rice in general, I would want to leave kind of a mark of being involved with being an open-minded leader, being someone that is willing to hear other people's perspectives, someone that is a leader in different facilities, different ways, and someone that is also just in general able to listen to others.
Nice. Very good. And you're headed on the right trajectory with your experiences. So Honglin has a couple more questions now on vision and legacy.
Yeah, so this is going to be the last main section. You looking forward to your time at Rice? So I know you kind of briefly mentioned about the kind of mark you want to leave at Rice. So what comes to mind about that?
To just go back to that, the type of mark that I would like to leave on Rice is just someone that was an open-minded person who is willing to listen to all different types of perspectives. I want to be someone that anyone can come to, talk about their issues and, leave my personal opinions aside and just try and find a way to be as open-minded and listen to everyone as possible. I think it's also really important and something that I want to do it to be collaborative and also just like in general enthusiastic about what I'm working on, because I think that you can't really fake passion. And in order to have passion in a project and create the change that you really want to, you have to be passionate about it. And I don't think that you're really able to truly enact change and make people believe in what you're trying to work on if you're not enthusiastic about it, if you're not constantly talking about it, if you're not really well knowledgeable on the topic. So I think that that's something else that I want to leave my mark on Rice as, is being someone that was collaborative, easy to work with, trying to always find solutions to the problems that people bring up, and then also someone that was just enthusiastic about the work that they were doing.
Yeah, of course. That's really, really helpful for someone to know who wants to get into a leadership position like you. So there's this question I always ask my guests here. So it's what does the word legacy mean to you at this stage of your college journey?
So I think currently legacy means to me just what I'm able to imprint on the people and the systems that I see around me. While I know that people in 10 years, they probably won't remember my name, but I hope that they remember the work that I've done and the work that I will continue to do at Rice. I hope they see a certain change implemented across campus and they're I'm really glad that someone created that change because, it really helped my daily life. I think it's just something that I want to have my legacy be known as someone who created change at Rice, who was able to help and make even the smallest change in someone's daily life. I think that that's something that's really important to me and what defines legacy.
Oh, that's really sweet. Finally, in this last question for this section, what kind of advice would you give to the other freshmen who wants to kind of get involved but don't know where to start?
Yeah, so I think that one thing that I would want to do if I was someone that was also a freshman that didn't really know what they wanted to do but knew that they wanted to get involved, I think that something that's really important is to just ask and then just show up. A lot of things at Brown specifically, we have executive cabinet meetings every Tuesday in the Magister's house from 8 to 9 p.m. And then we also have Brown Cabinet, which is every other Thursday. I believe that's also from 8 to 9. That's in the first floor of Brown Tower in Vader. And so I think that just going to these events, making yourself known, kind of listening to what change is already happening, that's something that can really help you get involved just because you have a base level of knowledge about what's going on. And then I also think that it's really important to talk to people that are involved in leadership roles and talk to them about what your opinions are, see if there's a way that you can help to create a specific change if that's what you're trying to advocate for. We also have Senate meetings, which are every Monday from 9 to 10 p.m. Feel free to sit in on it. Anyone from the public is allowed to come and sit down and listen to what's going on. And so I think that there are currently people that sit in on Senate sessions and they listen in. And I think that that's really admirable because it shows that you're dedicated to actually creating that change and to being involved, even if you might not have a quote unquote leadership position. And so I think just getting that knowledge about it, understanding what's going on in the student association and then also at your campus or at your college specifically, and then just talking to people like the president, whatever VPs, just other people in the executive council in general or cabinet. I think that that's really helpful because you'll understand what's going on. People will know who you are. They'll know that you're involved. And then in the future, if there is a role that is opened up or, if there's another election, they will let you know that, hey, this is going on. I think that you would be a great fit because you've already shown in the past that you're wanting to work towards that change.
So to follow up with that and something more kind of personal to you, what's something about leadership that most surprised you coming to Rice?
I guess how much work that you are able to create or how much change that you are able to enact. I know that a lot of times, especially at my high school, anytime you were in a leadership position, it didn't really mean much. You didn't really do much in that role. You were just kind of had the title. But I think that here, the title is kind of just really what you make of it. You can be the type of leader who just sits back and lets other people do the work, or you can be the type of person that goes and makes that change. Being a leader and just being in a leadership role is really what you make of it. You won't really create change if you're just sitting off to the side, but if you're actually working and being dedicated to the projects that you're working on and to actually having that passion about helping people at Rice, I think that that is something that is really important to being a leader, and something that surprised me because a lot of times at my high school, there weren't very many opportunities to be really a leader in that sense. And then also you didn't really do much in that leadership position.
That kind of wraps up all of our main questions here. So we're going to do our little fun section. I'm going to pass it to Bernie.
Yes, you've been wonderful. All these answers are incredible.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. You're a trailblazer, Neya. Now, for each rapid question, it's just going to be quick fire, think on the spot. So first question, what's your favorite thing about Brown?
The culture.
One need to describe your experience at Rice.
Experiential, just being able to try new things.
Perfect. Good. Next, what's your go-to study spot at Rice?
Okay, this is Brown specific, but Vader. I love studying in Vader. But then other than that, I like studying at Chow's.
Nice. Me too. What's the best meal you've had at North Surrey?
Oh my gosh. It was during a week. They had these pot stickers. They were delicious. They were so good. I dream about them. But then also other than that, just Associates Night. I know it's great for everyone, but Associates Night at North Surrey specifically was so good. The food that they had was amazing.
Delicious. Next, if you could change one thing about campus life, what would it be?
Oof. I think I'd probably say, I obviously haven't experienced it, but I think I'd probably say bring back public culture, because I feel a lot of people don't go to the publics anymore. But I think that we should bring that back because it's a really great way to experience campus life and get involved and just have fun.
Awesome. And the last question, speaking of chows, what's your go-to drink?
Okay, I'm kind of basic. I'd probably just get a vanilla latte, but two things that I highly recommend for people to get are the mango nada. That it's the mango, and I think they do chamoy and tajin and stuff in it. It's really good. It's a perfect drink for when it's hot. And then something else that was a specialty drink was the rouge latte that I think they did for Rosh Hashanah. It was delicious. It was so good. I loved it, and I really hope they bring it back.
Nice.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. It was really nice to talk to you guys as well.
Yes, thank you for coming along to the podcast, and thank you for being a great co-host and a great guest as well. I think this was one of the best episodes that we have so far. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for the listeners for tuning in for this podcast. We'll see y'all next in the next podcast.
Thank you for joining us for the Leading Owls podcast. We will be back next week with more leadership journeys and tips to share. New episodes release each Wednesday. For more information on the Door Institute for New Leaders and our free leader development programs for Rice students, please visit door.rice.edu.